Okay, we were talking about the woman who had been bleeding for 12 years, who lived in Capernaum, who walked up to Jesus and touched the edge of his cloak, who was instantly healed because of her faith. And Jesus saying, "I know the power has gone out of me." And then he turned and looked into her eyes and said, "Your faith has healed you." Now let's step back for a few minutes and let's think about something else. From the beginning of time, this woman lay deep in the divine heart, meaning God's heart. His desire for her to be, just to be, was the very force that gave her life. He planned her from head to toe, inside and out, her hair, the color of her eyes, her skin, her parents, where she would live. And there came that split second, and that was her perfect beginning when she was born. And he whispered the words he longed to whisper, and he couldn't wait one more second. And when she was born, he said, "Live, my precious one. I love you so much. Just live." And she was born. I think about this, and I think about life and people, and I used to work in labor and delivery, birthing babies, and, lots were born that lived and thrived. Few were born that died, and it was so sad. And I think about every single birth, whether the baby lived or died, that, angels must have just sung, and heaven has a party because life has been given, and life goes forth. And yes, sometimes life does stop. But Romans 8:28 says, God will work everything out to the good of those who are called according to His will. And no matter if it's life going forward, life dying, or issues going on in life, like this woman's bleeding for 12 years, everything is worked out for the good of those who love God and are called according to His will. Long before she ever spoke a word, He held her voice in His heart. And in creation, He just loved her. And so don't ever think that in this story that Jesus wouldn't know this woman. Jesus would know every single person that He created. Again, Psalms 139:15-16. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, meaning inside the womb. And when I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them ever came to be. And that gives me hope, because, as I said, working in labor and delivery, these babies are born, and, everybody has their own viewpoint on abortion and when life actually begins. But how can you not stop and think about the very fact that life begins the moment that the cell, the sperm meets the egg and the cell starts to divide, and that's life. Because we're living human beings walking and talking, and we're adults and children and older people, and our cells are constantly, dividing and doing what they need to do in order to support our life. So at the very big moment that sperm and egg meet and start dividing, that's life. And how can you dispute the fact that it's any other way? And, I don't know. That was my little tangent. And so what about this woman 2,000 years ago? Who was this woman? She could have been me. She could have been you. And what is the deal with 12 years of bleeding? What would that do to a woman? Especially back then. Jews viewed bleeding of any kind or decay, but especially the woman's menstrual cycle. The Jews viewed bleeding women from that time, and especially from that area, from the uterus, as unclean, and you couldn't even sleep with your husband in the same bed when you're on your cycle. And it's even still that way when you go to Israel and you stay in hotels. You have separate beds that can be put together to make one big bed, but they pull apart, because if a woman is in her monthly cycle, then it's still viewed that the man and woman should not sleep in the same bed. This is how important this is. So for her to be bleeding for 12 years was a really big deal. I mean, physically think about what it would be like to bleed every single minute, every single day for 12 years. Going to doctors, not being able to find a cure. You know, spending all your money on trying to find a cure, trying to keep yourself clean. People probably not wanting to deal with her business-wise because she is unclean. I mean, just so much stress in the body, going through everything. When a person bleeds a lot, you got other issues that go on. You get dizzy and lightheaded, and you faint, and you hurt, and she's probably got cramping and everything going on. You know, she's probably telling herself trials are going to come, trials are going to go. At some point in time, this has got to get better. And then she probably has days where she's thinking, this is never going to get better. You know, why am I even alive? I'm a waste of time. And I just don't, value my life anymore. You know, things, any kind of disease that a human goes through. You know, like even me with my migraines daily for 3 years. You have times where you're like, okay, I've got hope. And it's easing up, and I've got some hope. And then, boom, it hits so hard again. And you're just like, ugh, I can't take this anymore, God. You know, when is this ever going to end? But then you learn to take the days where they're not so bad, and you just live in that glorious moment. And when they are bad, the migraines, then I just take it as a sign it's time for my body to rest, and I try to give God the glory for that. You have to stop and think, praise God that He did something for her, even if it was 12 years later. We all have to go through different things in our life. Some people get something instantaneously. Some people have to go a long time before they get what they need. Their healing, or, the perfect job or money situation. So this woman endured a lot for 12 years. And then her time came. Jesus walking through the crowd, and her final hope was, I'm going for it. I'm going out there. I don't care if I'm unclean, ceremonially, people don't want to be around me. I'm sure she probably had insults hurled at her and everything, because she was even out in public, and touching other people, but she didn't care. All she could think of was, I'm going for God. I'm going. And she got there. She touched the hem of His robe, and He knew. Jesus knew. Power, that divine power, was gone from Him and into her. That instantaneous, slight little touch, and she was healed. And I just think, oh my gosh, how incredibly wonderful is that? We have to seek the divine. We have to be active and participate in what it is that we are seeking from the divine, whether it's the healing that we need, or the right amount of money for our family, or a different job situation, or for your marriage to be better. If you don't actively participate in seeking the divine, then how do you expect to have anything come your way? Yes, you have to have faith and you have to believe. But be active about it. Participate in it. Show God that you mean business with what you want. And that's what this woman did. She just went for it. And she got her healing. And I just want to read something. Well, nope, I have to stop. So this is going to be a 3-part reading. Anyway, okay. Blessings, and I will make the 3rd video.